All right. Hello and welcome. So, in the comments on YouTube and on my Twitch streams, I get a lot of questions about what should I do for my first build. I've just got Last Epoch, or maybe tried a build, I've started a build and I don't like it. What can I do to fix that? What can I do to have a build that I like and that I can get through the story with? And these are great questions, and I'm happy to answer them, happy to discuss them with people. But I also figured maybe some of you folks that have these sorts of questions would benefit if I just put out a short little video on some tips for creating your first build or one of your first builds. Creating a build when you're early to the game, you don't have a lot of crafting materials, you don't have a lot of experience with the game. Something that can kind of get you a leg up, making sure that you can make a build that's good enough to get through at least the story and get you to end game, where from there you can decide whether or not you want to keep going with it or try something else. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to offer some tips, some strategies to help you along in that early process of getting to know Last Epoch with your first character. Now, what this is not going to be is anything close to an exhaustive guide for how to start playing Last Epoch. If you're looking for something like that, I already made it. It's already on my channel. I will link it in the description below for that so that you can go ahead and get more acquainted with the game if that's what you're looking for. If you want to know how to craft, you want to know, how the skill trees work, so on and so forth. This is going to be more focused on creating that build, a way that you'll like it and can play it and get through the story and have a good time. And with that, let's go ahead and get started. So my first tips will be around choosing a class. This is probably the most asked thing. What class should I play? What's a good class? Long story short, all of the classes can do the story. So if you're just trying to get through the story, you're fine with whatever you choose. But some will be easier than others. For example, pet builds like the Beastmaster or the Necromancer tend to be very easy in the story, especially on boss fights, where you can just throw your pets at the boss, stand back, and not get hit by the mechanics, and the pets tend to do really good damage early on. So if you're looking for a face roll, usually Beastmaster and Necromancer, at least right now, are pretty good for that. That doesn't mean they're going to be great endgame. Some of those builds have some drop off. They don't scale quite as well. But if you want to get through the story and do it easily and not be terribly challenged, that's an option. You can do that with Beastmaster and Necromancer. Another solid option is Sentinel. It's a very well-rounded class, has lots of support options. So it allows for many different types of builds to perform well. Many different primary damage skills can benefit from these support skills in a way that makes them very powerful. Sentinel also performs well at endgame, so if you're looking for something that might have a good chance of continuing on through the arenas, through the monoliths, Sentinel's great for that. The only one that you might want to have some sort of pause about is Mage. Currently, it got a rework a couple of months ago, and it can be challenging, especially Spellblade. Spellblade can be quite challenging, even in the story, depending on how you build it out. But there are definitely strong options in the class. You can absolutely make a good Spellblade. You can make a good Mage. Some really good skills, in particular, are Meteor and Shatter Strike. So don't feel like you can't play a Mage. And ultimately, this story is very forgiving, as death does not reset your progress. Even on a boss fight, you'll die and you'll come back, and the boss will still be as damaged as he was when you died. So, what I ultimately suggest is play the class that you think you'll like the most, and then go from there. Like, just try what you think you're going to enjoy. Don't worry too much about picking, the thing that's stronger than the others, because again, the story is not very punishing. You can get through it. Even if you die a lot, you'll still get through the story, no problem. But what about the skills? You've got your class. You've decided you're going to be whatever, mage, beastmaster, whatever you decided. You've got that. But now you need to know what skills to choose. And it's really important to understand that the majority of your power comes from your skills and their associated skill trees. So you really want to, when you're making your build, focus your efforts on making these work for you, because that's where the biggest gains are going to be So, in general, it is better to choose only one or two damage skills and then select support skills for the rest. If you choose two, consider having one for AoE and another for single target. I really can't stress this enough. I see a lot of builds, even build guides. People are making build guides out there. They've got like four damage skills. Like, okay, yeah, you can get through the story with that. Like, if that's what you want to do, go ahead. But you've only got so much mana. You're really hindering your ability to power up the skills that you are using when you've only got damaging skills. So really consider doing some support skills instead. This doesn't so much apply for pet builds. They don't really follow this general format since most of your skills will be designed to summon pets. But even those pets themselves can often be slotted as damage or support or some sort of in between thing where they're offering both damage and support. So even those pets can kind of do this. It's just a little different. You're usually going to want to pick a lot of pet stuff if you go with a pet build. Specifically on support skills, let's talk about those. They generally modify your main skill's damage, improve your defenses, or provide you with mobility or some combination of the three. Now, many skills are hybrids in that they can become either a main damage skill or a support skill, or some combination of the two. How you build your skill tree is going to determine what they will become. Now, I suggest in general to focus these hybrid skills to either main damage or support, at least until you have a good understanding of the skill tree you are working with and the role you would like it to play. Some examples of skills that can be spec'd into strong support options are Flame Ward and Teleport for mages, Holy Aura and Shield Rush for sentinels, Mark for Death and Transplant for acolyte, and basically any totem for primalist. This list is far from exhaustive, though, as there are many other great support skills in Last Epoch. All right, let's talk about crafting real quick. This is something that confuses a lot of people. And it's really not that hard, especially early on. So, in short, craft early and often. Everything you craft on your gear increases your power in some way. So, whenever you get a new shard, consider crafting it on your gear. Do not worry too much about fracturing an item early in the game. As long as it isn't a damaging fracture, you'll still keep all of the stats on the gear that was fractured. And it will be difficult for you to craft enough on an item to create a damaging fracture without glyphs. By the way, if you don't understand anything I just said there, don't worry too much about it. But if you want to understand it, definitely encourage you to go check out my beginner's guide because I do cover crafting and fracturing and all that stuff in there. All right, now what about the passive skill tree? We covered the active skills and their skill trees. What should you do with the passive skill tree? So don't worry too much about making a wrong choice, since your passives can be easily refunded with gold from any vendor with a pink head icon on the minimap. These are found in the council chambers and the end of time. The only permanent decision is choosing your mastery class, which is done through a quest given to you when you reach the end of time. This is about a third to a half of the way through the story, is when you will get to this option, this quest. Just because you chose a mastery class doesn't mean you are locked out of the other mastery trees. You can still put points into the bottom half of these trees. However, you only gain access to the top half of your chosen mastery class. You're also going to get some passive bonuses and a special mastery skill for your mastery class. So make sure to review these and make sure they fit with the build you are going for before making your choice. All right, last thing here. Let's talk about the gear. You can wear any kind of gear you want with any class, and most of it will be completely fine. But here are a few tips specifically for choosing gear. Make sure the base damage type of your weapon corresponds with the damage type of the skills you are using. For example, if you are a spellcaster, use either a wand, scepter, or staff, as these are the only weapons with base spell damage. Scepters and staffs also have melee damage on them, so they're a great choice for hybrid melee/spell builds. Throwing attacks do not have base damage on their weapons, but instead can craft it on rings and amulets. All other weapon types will be appropriate for melee, but keep an eye out for weapons with special damage bases, i.e., critical damage, that fit the build you're trying to make. Wearing a shield will make you tankier than not wearing one. Sounds obvious, but not everyone really picks up on this. Regardless of your class, wearing a shield will make you tankier. Wearing a shield will make you tankier. I really want that to set in because a lot of people, when they first start the game, don't even really think about this. Shields jump up dramatically in their block protection armor as well, so keep an eye out for new ones with stronger bases. And my last tip: uniques may not be great options in the end game when crafting becomes even more powerful. If you watch any of my build guides, you'll notice I have very few, if any, uniques on them. But they can make a big difference while going through the story. If you find one that fits your build, make sure to take advantage of it. All right, that's it. That'll do it for our tips. A little over 10 minutes. I want to be about 10 minutes. We're pretty close to there. I hope this really helps you. If there's something I didn't cover here that you want to know about when making your build, please feel free to ask me in the comments. Hop in on Twitch and ask the question there. Happy to answer those things. Also, my Discord. If you want to have a longer discussion on it, Discord is probably a really good place for that. But I can also do it on YouTube. It really doesn't much matter. It's wherever you feel most comfortable. I'm more than happy to help. Yeah. So thanks for checking out this video. I hope it really helps you. Have a great time at Last Epoch.